My sister convinced my parents to exclude me from Christmas, but when she requested money, I finally taught them a lesson. I'm 32, unmarried, and according to my parents, a disappointment. Not because I've done anything wrong, but simply because I haven't met the expectations they hold dear. No spouse, no children, no proper family of my own. Meanwhile, my younger sister Amanda, at 26, can do no wrong in their eyes. She's lively, married, and to them, the very definition of success. This year, they didn't even bother inviting me for Christmas. A week before the holiday, my mom called, not to check in or ask how I was, but to explain why I was being excluded. Apparently, Amanda casually mentioned that I supposedly said celebrating Christmas at their place was pointless, because it always centered around her. I never said that, but my parents didn't feel the need to verify anything. They simply accepted it at face value. "We don't want negativity ruining the day," my mother said. "Maybe it's best if you sit this one out." I wasn't sure what hurt more, her words or the fact that I wasn't even surprised. "Fine," I said. I wasn't going to beg for an invitation. The next day, Amanda called. For a brief moment, I thought she might be reaching out to make amends or admit she had lied. But no, she wanted money. "Listen," she started. "I need help covering tuition for my grad program. Mom and Dad can't contribute much right now, and we all know you're doing well." I was stunned. Just one day after banning me from Christmas, they had no problem treating me like the family ATM. I didn't respond right away, deciding instead to handle this in a way they wouldn't forget. Rather than rejecting her outright, I told Amanda I'd think about it. That was enough to satisfy her. She quickly thanked me and hung up, likely already feeling proud of her ability to manipulate people. But my thoughts weren't on helping her. I was reflecting on the years of this exact pattern repeating itself. Amanda had always been the favored child. She received admiration, attention, the best of everything. My parents never even pretended to be fair about it. They were open and proud of her achievements, which mostly involved being charismatic and knowing how to get people to do what she wanted. Meanwhile, I was the responsible one, the steady, dependable one. I worked hard, earned good grades, and avoided trouble. But in our family, responsibility wasn't something to be celebrated. It was something to be exploited. When Amanda wanted a car in high school, my parents suggested I contribute from the savings I had built from my part-time job. When she decided to attend an expensive out-of-state college, they had no hesitation in asking me to put my grad school plans on hold to help cover her tuition. And Amanda always had a way of twisting the situation so that she appeared to be the victim, the one who deserved everyone's support the most. The most infuriating part? She had convinced my parents that I was selfish. Anytime I tried to set boundaries or say no, I was met with a lecture about how families should always support each other. Translation: my role was to support Amanda, no questions asked. And now here she was again, asking for thousands of dollars for her grad school expenses, while I wasn't even considered worthy of attending Christmas dinner. I wasn't furious, not in the way that makes you lose control. I felt eerily calm, almost detached. And that's when I realized I was truly done. This wasn't just about money or the holiday. It was about years of being used, disregarded, and treated as if my worth depended solely on how much I could provide for her. So I called my mom back. "Hey," I said, "can we have a family meeting? You, Dad, Amanda, her husband? I think we need to clear the air." She hesitated before finally agreeing, likely assuming I was coming to beg and apologize. I didn't correct her. She could believe whatever she wanted. I would say my piece, and for once, they would have to listen. The so-called family meeting was set for the following Saturday at my parents' house. I didn't bother dressing up, just threw on a hoodie, a pair of jeans, and some worn-out sneakers. This wasn't about appearances. It was about finally speaking my truth. When I arrived, Amanda and her husband Greg were already there. Greg gave me his usual half smile, the kind that suggested he wanted no part in the drama but couldn't escape it. Amanda didn't even pretend to be polite. She was glued to her phone, as uninterested as ever. Mom came in from the kitchen, balancing a tray of coffee and cookies, putting on her best act as the warm and welcoming hostess, even though this was anything but a social visit. Dad remained planted in his recliner, eyeing me like I was some unwelcome guest who had barged in uninvited. Finally, Mom said, once everyone was settled, her voice dripping with feigned sweetness. What did you want to talk about, honey? As if a few kind words could smooth over the fact that she had excluded me from Christmas just 2 weeks earlier. I didn't bother with small talk. I want to discuss Christmas, I said evenly, and the fact that I wasn't invited because Amanda told you something that wasn't true. Amanda jumped in instantly, her voice sickeningly innocent. I didn't lie. That's what you said. Or maybe you didn't mean it that way, but that's how it came across. I raised an eyebrow. Really? Because I don't recall ever saying that Christmas was a waste of time. In fact, I don't remember discussing it at all. Yet somehow you managed to convince Mom and Dad otherwise. She shrugged, leaning back in her chair. I was just being honest. I nodded slowly, biting back the frustration bubbling inside me. Right, just like you were being honest when you called me the next day asking for money for your graduate program. The room went silent. Amanda's expression froze, and for the first time, Greg looked genuinely uncomfortable. Mom jumped in, her voice laced with desperation. Wait a minute. This isn't about money. It's always about money, I cut her off. That's exactly why I'm here, because I'm sick of being treated like a walking bank account. You didn't want me at Christmas, but you had no issue expecting me to fund Amanda's life. Do you have any idea how messed up that is? Dad finally spoke, his tone gruff. Watch your mouth, son. We're family. Families help each other. I released a genuine laugh. Is this what helping each other looks like? Because from where I'm standing, it seems more like I'm giving and Amanda is taking. Tell me, when was the last time anyone in this room actually supported me? I asked. No one responded. Exactly, I said. And that's why I'm done. The silence that followed was thick and uncomfortable. Amanda kept her gaze fixed on her phone, pretending she wasn't the focus of this conversation. Greg shifted uncomfortably, looking like he regretted being there. Mom looked like she might break down in tears, and Dad's face turned crimson with barely contained frustration. He was the one who finally shattered the silence. You've got some nerve, he said, his tone heavy with disapproval. Talking to us like this after everything we've done for you. We gave you life, put a roof over your head, fed you, clothed you, and this is how you repay us? I couldn't help it. I laughed. Not a small chuckle, but a full, deep laugh, the kind that unsettles more than shouting ever could. Yeah, you gave me life. So am I supposed to be eternally grateful because you decided to have a kid? That's your big argument. That I owe you just for existing? I shook my head, still laughing in disbelief. You can't be serious. Mom's voice quivered as she jumped in. We've sacrificed so much for you. We worked hard to give you a good life, and now you're acting like we're the villains. Sacrificed? I repeated, raising an eyebrow. Sacrificed what exactly? Because all I ever heard growing up was how much harder life was because of me, how I was the trial run that made things easier for Amanda. You didn't sacrifice for me. You invested in me, expecting a return with interest. And guess what? I've paid up over and over again. Dad leaned forward, pointing a stern finger at me. You've always been ungrateful. You think money fixes everything, but let me tell you something. Family isn't about money. It's about loyalty, and right now, you're failing at that. Loyalty? I echoed, disbelief dripping from my voice. You mean the same loyalty you showed me when you believed Amanda's lie without even hearing my side? Or the loyalty you showed when you excluded me from Christmas, but had no issue asking me for thousands of dollars the very next day? That kind of loyalty? Mom clutched her chest like I had physically struck her. We didn't uninvite you, she protested. We just thought it would be best if you stayed home this year. You've been so negative lately. Negative? I scoffed. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe because my entire adult life, I've been treated like I don't matter unless I'm doing something for you or Amanda. Maybe because no matter how much I give, it's never enough. But you're right. This isn't about money. It's about respect, and I'm done pretending I don't see how little of it you have for me. Amanda finally looked up from her phone, her face flushed. This is ridiculous. You're making a huge deal out of nothing. All I did was ask for a little help. You don't have to turn it into some dramatic crisis. I locked eyes with her, and for the first time, she seemed uneasy. This isn't drama, I said, my voice steady. This is reality, and you're about to see just how real it is. The tension in the room was suffocating. The only sound was the low hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Mom's eyes were wide with disbelief, Dad's narrowed in anger, and Amanda's darted around like she was looking for an escape. I exhaled slowly, leaning back in my chair. All right, since none of you seem to understand, let me make it clear for you. I let the silence stretch for a moment before continuing. You want me to pay for Amanda's graduate school? Fine, but here's my condition. Mom's face shifted, a glimmer of hope appearing on her face. Oh, sweetheart, if that's all you. I raised a hand, cutting her off. No, let me finish. I'll cover Amanda's tuition, but after that, I'm done. Permanently. No more handouts, no more family gatherings, no more Christmas invitations or lack thereof. You want me to keep playing the role of the family ATM? Fine, but let's stop pretending I'm part of this family. The silence that followed was deafening. Pow, Amanda's mouth dropped open. You're joking, she said. I'm not, I replied, my tone as steady as I could manage. This is the deal. You get what you want, and I finally get peace. Mom's hands flew to her mouth, tears threatening to spill. How can you say that? We're family. You don't mean that. I mean every word, I said firmly. Let's be honest, I've never truly been part of this family, not in the way that matters. I'm just the guy you all call when you need something. And I'm done. Dad shot up from his chair, his face dark with anger. That's the most selfish thing I've ever heard. What kind of son walks away from his family over money? I met his glare without hesitation. The kind of son who's been emotionally abandoned for years. His mouth opened, but I didn't let him speak. You want to talk about selfish? I kept my voice steady. How about Amanda deceiving everyone to have me excluded from Christmas, only to turn around and ask for thousands of dollars the very next day? How about you and Mom supporting her as though that's perfectly acceptable? I shook my head. No, you don't get to lecture me about selfishness. Finally, Amanda found her voice. This is absurd. You're just trying to manipulate everyone because you refuse to help. Typical. I met her gaze without flinching. You're absolutely correct. I don't want to help, not anymore. And after today, I won't. So, what's it going to be? Do you want the money, or do you want to continue pretending this is a real family? For the first time in my life, they were all silent. I couldn't tell if they were stunned by what I said or by the fact that I had finally stood up to them. Either way, the decision was now in their hands. The silence was thick, suffocating, the kind that made every breath and movement feel magnified. They clearly had no idea how to respond. I had always been the dependable one, the one expected to keep the peace, until now. Eventually, Amanda broke the silence, her voice sharp. So, you're actually going to sit here and blackmail your own family over money? Do you even hear yourself? This is disgusting. I couldn't help but smile. Blackmail, I repeated. That's interesting. I thought blackmail was what you did when you lied to Mom and Dad about me, just so you could have Christmas all to yourself. Or is it only disgusting when someone refuses to participate in your little games? Greg, who had been silent up until this point, cleared his throat awkwardly. Hey, maybe we should all just calm down. This is getting... No, I cut in, my tone firm. We're not calming down. That's the problem. Every time I try to set boundaries or call out the way I'm treated, someone tells me to calm down. That's how this family operates, by sweeping everything under the rug and pretending everything's fine. Well, it's not fine. Mom looked like she was about to cry. We never wanted you to feel this way. You are part of this family. You always have been. Really? I shot back. Because it sure doesn't feel that way. It feels like I only matter when you need something. The rest of the time, I'm an outsider. A disappointment. Isn't that what you called me, Mom? A failure because I don't have a wife and kids? Because I don't live the life you think I should? She started to protest, but I wasn't done. Here's the thing. I've built a life I'm proud of. I have a strong career, real friends, and peace of mind, and I'm not going to let you or anyone else take that away from me. So like I said, it's your choice. If you want me to pay for Amanda's college, fine. But after that, I'm done. I refuse to keep being taken advantage of. Dad threw his hands up in frustration. This is absurd. Families fight sometimes. That doesn't mean you just walk away. You're being dramatic. No, I said, my voice steady. What's dramatic is pretending everything's fine when it's not. What's dramatic is expecting me to keep bending over backward while Amanda and the rest of you take me for granted. This isn't about money. It's about respect. And since I obviously don't have any here, I'm removing myself from the situation. Amanda, who had been silently fuming, finally snapped. You're unbelievable. You act like some kind of victim. Grow up. Life isn't fair. You think I haven't made sacrifices? You think I haven't struggled? I held her gaze for a long moment. Struggled? I repeated, my voice cold. You have two parents who treat you like you walk on water, a husband who supports you no matter what, and yet you still expect me to clean up your messes. If that's struggling, I'd love to hear what you call my life. She parted her lips as if to speak, but no words came. Exactly, I said, rising to my feet. I've said what I needed to say. Let me know what you decide. Just remember, this is the last favor you'll ever ask of me. With that, I walked out. I didn't hear from them for a few days after the confrontation. I assumed they needed time to process, to argue, or to figure out their next move. Meanwhile, I carried on with my life, doing my best not to dwell on it. I knew what I had proposed wasn't ideal for them, but it was the clean break I needed. Sure enough, a week later, Mom called. Her voice was hesitant, almost unsure. We've talked it over, she said softly, and if this is really what you want, we'll take you up on your offer. I exhaled a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Part of me had expected more resistance, but I supposed even they knew they had pushed me too far. All right, I replied. I'll transfer the money directly to Amanda's school account. But after that, don't contact me about anything. Mom started crying, mumbling something about how heartbreaking it was to see our family falling apart. But I didn't let it affect me. I wasn't the one who had destroyed our relationship. They were. I had simply stopped trying to hold the broken pieces together. I kept my word. I paid Amanda's tuition in full, sent her an email with the receipt, and that was it. No dramatic goodbyes, no drawn-out explanations, just a clean break. At first, the silence felt strange. For years, my phone had been a constant source of stress. Text after text, call after call, each one another demand, another expectation. Now it was quiet, peaceful. Amanda reached out once, a few months later. She sent a long email apologizing for how things had unfolded and thanking me for what I had done. She said she hoped that one day we could put the past behind us. I never responded. It wasn't about resentment. It was about self-preservation. I had spent too long being her doormat, and I wasn't willing to risk slipping back into old patterns. Life without them was easier. I had more energy for the things that actually mattered: my career, my hobbies, my friends. I hadn't realized how much space they had taken up in my mind until they were gone. Do I miss them sometimes? Yes, but not in the way you might think. I miss the idea of a family that truly cares. But I've accepted that the family I was born into will never be capable of giving me that. And that's okay. For the first time in my life, I'm not living under anyone else's expectations. I'm not the family ATM. I'm just me. And honestly, it feels better than I ever imagined.